What's up, everybody? It's Kaladesh. It is Thursday, November 12th, 2020, the official launch of Kaladesh Remastered on Magic Arena. Kaladesh is a set with a bunch of artifacts. It's got an energy mechanic where you can gain these energy tokens you can spend at a later time that don't leave your mana pool like mana does. And it's got a lot of vehicles. Just a lot of fun stuff going on in it. Now, it has been several years since I've drafted the format, and anytime I drafted the format wasn't exactly like this, because in the remastered sets, they actually clumped together all of the sets that were in the previous block. So in Kaladesh Remastered, we're going to have all of the cards, well, most of the cards, from Kaladesh and Aether Revolt combined into one draft set. So without further ado, let's get into this format. So we have a pretty fun rare here, Depala Pilot Exemplar, 1 a red and a white for a 3/3. Other dwarves you control get +1/+1, and each vehicle you control gets +1/+1 as long as it's a creature. And whenever she becomes tapped, you can pay X to reveal the top X cards of your library, put all dwarves and vehicles from among them into your hand, and put the rest on bottom in a random order. Now, since this is my first ever draft of this format, I will be making some picks here that are kind of just trying to play around with the rares and mythics, the cards that I think will be a lot of fun, rather than the cards that might be the best to pick in these packs. So Depala, she is a multicolored rare, or just a multicolored card in general, and you really have to build around her to get a lot of use out of her, so maybe she's not the best first pick ever. Maybe you'd want to take something that leaves you a little more open, like a Filigree Familiar or that little Death Touch lifelinker there, but she seems like the most fun card in that pack, so I'll start with that, and maybe I can end up in a red-white vehicles deck. That is definitely a strategy that exists. There are signpost uncommons for that strategy, like Gear Shift Ace here. 2 mana for a 2/1 first strike. Whenever it crews a vehicle, that vehicle gains first strike until end of turn. So this fits a very similar theme as our rare, both in the fact that it's a dwarf and that it cares about vehicles. So that should be a pretty easy pick there, unless we have some kind of really good removal or just bomby card here. And it doesn't really look like there's anything that crazy in this pack, just some decent stuff. So I'm going to go with the Gear Shift Ace here, stick with our Depala, and see if we can make that a thing. So there are no dwarves in this pack. There is a Sky Skiff though, which is a decent vehicle, 2 mana for a 2/3 flying. It requires 1 power to crew it. So definitely a decent vehicle. There's a good removal spell here, 1 a black and red for an instant, destroy a creature. If you control an artifact, you also get to deal 3 to that creature's controller. Just a lot of good looking cards here, but again, it has been since what, like 2017 since I've played with any of these cards, so my card evaluation is definitely not going to be perfect in this first pack, in this first draft. As a whole, I kind of want to just go with this removal spell here. Chandra's Revolution is a removal spell that also slows down your opponent a little bit, so it's really nice when you're on the defensive. 4 mana for 4 damage to a creature, and you get to tap down one of their lands till their next turn. So if they were planning on playing like a 5-drop next turn, you get to keep them off of that card, which is really nice. So I will take the Chandra's Revolution there, and maybe another Chandra's Revolution, but I do remember Bomat Bazaar Barge actually being quite good. It's a 4-mana vehicle. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, so it replaces itself in terms of card value, and its crew cost is 3 to become a 5/5 creature. So 5/5 is just a pretty large creature. You do have to have 3 power on board to crew it though, so you want to have some decently large creatures. Right now we only have the Depala to crew it, but we're 3 picks into this, so we can definitely make sure to pick up some more cards that have enough power to crew it. And if you're unfamiliar with how vehicles work, because not a lot of them have seen a lot of constructed play really, even though they're still around, you can crew any number of creatures you control to hit that 3 power limit you need to turn this into a creature till end of turn. So I could tap 3 1/1s, or I could tap a 2/1 and a 1/1 to make this a 5/5 till end of turn. So I will go ahead and take that Bomat Bazaar Barge there. In this pack, we've got a Ravenous Intruder. This is a fun card because it's basically a reprint of Atog from like Alpha, one of the very first sets ever. But now it's a Gremlin. So yeah, it's a fun card. There's pretty explosive things you can do with it in constructed formats. As far as draft goes, you don't really want to be sacrificing your stuff permanently unless it has good abilities when it goes to the graveyard, and there's not a lot of super synergistic artifacts to work with Ravenous Intruder in this format, so I don't think it's that insane. I'll probably just go with Aether Inspector here. It's a 4-mana 2/3 Vigilance. It is a dwarf, so it goes with Dapala. Enters the battlefield with 2 energy. And whenever it attacks, you can pay 2 energy to create a 1/1 servo. So by itself, it can create 1/1 servo. And if you get anything else that cares about energy, you could make even more in the long scheme. Oh, this is going to be a really difficult pick here because we've got some great cards for our red-white vehicles kind of deck. We have Aeronaut Admiral, 4 mana for a 3/1 flying that gives all of our vehicles flying, so being able to bash in with a 5/5 flying Bomat Bazaar Barge could be pretty insane. But there's also Harness Lightning, which is really good removal. 2 mana at instant speed, you're doing 3 damage to a creature. That is the worst this card could possibly be. If you're using it to shoot something that only has 2 or 1 toughness, you actually just get to keep that extra energy for later. If you've had energy before, you can actually just 2 mana instant speed, maybe do 5 or 6 to a creature. So I'm going to take that Harness Lightning there. Maybe that pick was a little bit weighted by the fact that I just took another energy card, so I was already thinking about energy kind of mechanics. But I do think both of those picks would have been very powerful cards for this deck. So I would like to get something like that that vehicle card that we passed sometime later on. So Frontline Rebel's an interesting card because it's a 3 mana 3/3 that attacks each combat if able. Usually that's a huge drawback, but in a deck with a lot of vehicles, you can usually just use this to crew something if it ever gets to the point where it would die, even if you don't plan on attacking with whatever you crewed. So I'm going to go ahead and stay really safe with my picks here and just hold on to Dapala for dear life and stick to the Zaboros vehicle strategy. I don't really want to hop super outside of my strategy just trying to pick up good cards in general and swapping what I'm drafting early on in the format when I still don't really know what the best cards are. So now we have Impeccable Timing, which seems like a decent removal spell, or we have Hijack to borrow one of our opponent's artifacts or creatures till end of turn. Fireforger's Puzzle Knot could be okay as well. 2 mana for an artifact does 1 damage to something when it comes into play, and then it does another damage to something when you sacrifice it. So that could be okay. Here I'm definitely going to take Audacious Infiltrator. We're looking for creatures with high power at low costs to hit crew costs in a vehicle kind of deck, and this is also a dwarf, so it works with Dapala as well. So Audacious Infiltrator seems like a super fine pick here. Not missing out on a whole lot there. And we're getting to the point where these packs are going to be pretty empty. We've got a 3 mana 3/2 gives something +1/+1 when it comes into play, or we have a Conviction. I don't really like either of these cards. I guess I'll take Conviction because this can do some fun things with Revolt. Revolt is another mechanic in the set where any card that has Revolt will do some kind of extra effect if you're playing it when one of your permanents left the battlefield this turn. So if one of your creatures dies, and then you cast a card with Revolt, maybe the Revolt card will now draw you a card that it wouldn't have before, or come to play with a +1/+1 counter that it wouldn't have before. But it doesn't just care about things dying, it also cares about things just leaving the battlefield for any reason. So with Conviction, for 1 white mana, if you have this on the board, you can trigger any of your Revolt effects that you're trying to get. These all seem pretty bad, I guess. I'll take the artifact removal spell so that people can't use it on my 1 vehicle so far. I definitely am going to need to keep an eye out for more vehicles in these future packs. Can't really make a red-white vehicle deck with a single vehicle. Alright, we got another Dwarf Rare. 1 mana for a 1/1. Not the greatest, but at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control an artifact, it gets +2/+1 until end of turn, and if you control 3 or more artifacts, it also gains first strike until end of turn. So if you play a single artifact, say I play this on turn 1, and then on turn 2 I play something like that Sky Skiff that we saw in our first pack, this will now just be a 1 mana 3/2 during our turn, basically. So that could be pretty good. Worst case scenario, even if it's just sitting there as a 1/1, if we can get some of those decent common vehicles that have very cheap crew costs like Sky Skiff, this can just crew things until we have enough artifacts on board for it to really matter in terms of the secondary effects. So I'm going to go with the Toolcraft Exemplar here. It's also a rare just for collection purposes, and we are very early on in the format. There are some other good cards here though, like Propeller Pioneer and Reckless Fireweaver. I've seen those do things before, and they're in our colors. And off colors, we definitely saw a Fatal Push there, and Fatal Push is just insane removal. So now we have a Sky Skiff. That is a card I'm definitely looking to pick up. I definitely want to hit some 2-mana artifacts to work with the Toolcraft Exemplar, because being able to just attack in with this on turn 2 as a 3/2 just seems super nasty. And Skyskiff seems like a good vehicle. But there's also Oval Chase Dragster at uncommon. 4 mana for a 6/1 trample haste, but it costs 1 to crew it. I don't know how I feel about this one. I feel like this dies just the second it attacks, or just trades with something, does a little bit of damage to your opponents. Obviously, the potential is really high if your opponent doesn't have something to block it the turn you attack with it. Like if all their creatures are tapped out or something. It's got high potential, but I just don't like the idea of this just dying immediately, whereas Skyskiff's going to be a lot harder to die since it is evasive. Plus, as I said before, it's only 2 mana instead of 4, so it helps out with the Toolcraft Exemplar. Out of this pack, I think I'll go ahead and take another Audacious Infiltrator, just another cheap, high-power creature to help crew costs. That seems fine. Doesn't seem like a whole lot else going on in our colors. Salivating Gremlins might actually be pretty good, but it's not a dwarf. So 3 mana 2/3 when an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +2/+0 and trample till end of turn. So potentially attacks as a 3 mana 4/3 trample. Anytime you play an artifact, that's pretty good. Obviously, the Aether Inspector seems fine. I think I will still just go with the Infiltrator here, though. What do we have now? We have Aviary Mechanic, which fits the dwarf theme, and it can help with any Revolt cards. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of Revolt in the set. There's Revolt right there. 4 mana for a 2/2. If you had a permanent leave the battlefield when you play it, it is a 4 mana 3/3 instead. So that's the kind of stuff. But I haven't seen a lot of Revolt. I don't know how much they really brought back here. So yeah, for our deck, it's going to be like Aviary Mechanic or Frontline Rebel. I guess we do have like less 3-drops. We've got a lot less 3-drops right now, so maybe we just want the Frontline Rebel, even if it's not the greatest. What do we have now? Built to Smash. 1 mana for +3/+3 till end of turn, and if it's an artifact, creature gains trample till end of turn. Seems like a decent pump spell. Fabrication Module. Whenever you get an energy, you can put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, and for 4 mana you can tap it and get an energy. That could be okay. We definitely want to make sure to pick up more energy cards to synergize with that if we take it. Right now we just have Harness Lightning and Aether Inspector. It seems like a fun, like, interesting kind of card, though, and it's on the auto-select, so, I mean, Arena likes it. Might as well. We're not missing out on a ton by taking that Fabrication Module. Ooh. Well, that worked out really well for us. I was going to say this pack is completely empty for our colors. We're just going to have with a Built to Smash, but then I saw the white card. 3 mana for an enchantment, enchant a creature. Enchanted creature can't attack, block, or crew vehicles. So it's very close to Arrest, which is can't attack, block, or use its activated abilities, but it's more specific for the Kaladesh format. Instead of not being able to use its activated abilities, it can't crew vehicles, which is definitely a very good ability to have, because it kind of sucks if you like pacify something and then it just sits there and still crews all the vehicles in the world. So there's a Universal Solvent. This is a very expensive removal spell, but you can use it in any deck ever, so I've definitely seen it get played a couple times. Don't think I'm going to take it here, seeing as I already have Harness Lightning, Impeccable Timing, and Revoke Privileges. And red-white, we should be able to get more removal later. I'm going to take Self-Assembler, because that new artwork they gave it is beautiful, and it's also a fun card in Draft. It's a 5 mana 4/4, which isn't the greatest, but when it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for another assembly worker, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So with multiple self-assemblers, if I ever draw one of them and play it on turn 5, I just get to grab the rest of them for my deck. It's like, bam, play self-assembler, grab a self-assembler. Now I play the next self-assembler and grab another one. So it gives you something really powerful to do on turn 5. You just get a seemingly endless swarm of 5 mana 4/4s. So Self-Assembler, definitely a card I like, and after taking the first one, that made that second pick very easy, because obviously you want more than one of them to really get the value out of it. This pack seems pretty empty. I'm almost definitely not playing a Lathnu Sailback, because our high mana cost stuff is already going to get scooped up by all these Self-Assemblers we plan to pick up, but it is, it's in color for us. Or on color, I should say. Consulate Turret seems like relatively unplayable. Yeah, that seems really bad. So the only thing in our colors would be this Herald of the Fair, which we can try it out for now. We are not having a lot of 3-drops. Wow, this feels like a really late Arborback Stomper. Maybe I should have been in green. This is just a good green Stompy card in any limited format ever. Just a 5-mana 5/4 trample, and it gains 5 life when it comes into play. Which seems super fine to me. We'll just keep signaling to everyone that green is incredibly open here. So we've got 22 cards. Oh! And we got the Signpost uncommon for this strategy. We are missing out on a Chandra's Pyrohelix here, though, which is another powerful removal spell. 2 mana, instant speed, deal 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Obviously not the greatest against like a green deck or something, but against another aggressive kind of deck, if they have multiple 1-toughness creatures out, the ability to kill 2 of them with 1 card is really nice. But Veteran Motorist is just such a cool card. I think I have to take it here. It's kind of perfect for the strategy, perfect with the Pala. 2 mana, 3/1. You get to scry 2 when it comes into play, and it's a dwarf. And whenever it crews a vehicle, the vehicle gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So definitely Motors there. We'd like to wield like a Glint Sleeve Artisan. That is just a sturdy dwarf at 3 mana for our deck. And the rare is really powerful for anyone drafting black. Henny's Expertise, -3/-3 to everything, and you get to cast something else from your hand for free. That was just a really good pack in general. That green uncommon in that pack was super powerful too, but I talk a lot, so I didn't have time to mention that one. That was like a 5 mana 5/5, put a +1/+1 counter on everything when it comes into play. So I remember Sweatworks Brawler being better than it looked. When I first saw this set, I thought that looked pretty unplayable, but actually just a 3/3 menace is pretty powerful, pretty hard to block. We do have a Glint Sleeve Artisan, though. That will give us some better 3-drops to fill out that spot, like we'd take them over the Herald of the Fair, because it is a dwarf, and it gives us that versatility of being a 3 mana 3/3 or a 2/2 and a 1/1. Ballista Charger, I guess we do need more vehicles. I will go ahead and scoop up that Ballista Charger, because I don't know at this point how many chances I'm going to have to get more vehicles, and I only had 2 at the time that I took Ballista Charger. Now I have 3. Oh my god, this will be another hard pack. Harness Lightning, Revoke Privileges, so good removal there, or another vehicle with the Mobile Garrison. We do have quite a few cards that care about vehicles. I think I'm gonna take... I don't know, Mobile Garrison does not seem insane. I think I'm gonna take a removal spell over it. Actually, I do have that fabrication module still that I'm thinking about running, so I'm going to take the Harness Lightning over it, because the thing with Harness Lightning is, even if we use this and spend all the energy that it makes to do 3 damage to something, fabrication module would still see us getting an energy, and so it would still put a +1/+1 counter onto a creature, so that's pretty cool. And this will be an easy Hungry Flames here. We're taking it over an Aviary mechanic, which would be fine in our deck. It is a dwarf, and it's got that alternate ability there if we ever needed to return something to our hand. I guess that works well with like Beaumont Bazaar Barge to draw another card, or Aether Inspector to get some more energy, but it's not that insane. Whereas Hungry Flames, 3 mana, instant speed, 3 to a creature, and you get to do a couple damage to the controller. It's just really nice for the mana cost. Dawnfeather Eagle seems pretty alright, but I do really want to play these Self-Assemblers and this Ballista Charger, and hopefully I can pick up like 1 more of those. Could take a Spireside Infiltrator here, play it over one of these Frontline Rebels. 3 mana for a 3/2, whenever it becomes tapped, it deals damage to each opponent, so even if it just sits there crewing things, it damages our opponents. But at the same time, I did realize I'm pretty low on flying stuff. I basically just have Sky Skiff, so I'm actually going to take Propeller Pioneer there. 4 mana 3/2 flyer, or 4 mana for a 2/1 flyer, and you get a servo. So I realized I forgot to say what Fabricate does, but you should see the text right there. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose between putting a +1/+1 counter onto this creature, or creating a 1/1 token alongside it. So just another interesting mechanic there. So that pack was a super easy pick. We just got another one of the perfect uncommon for the strategy we're trying to do. So we're going to scoop up Veteran Motorist there. So we've got an Artifact or Enchantment removal, which is not the worst in the set. There's tons of artifacts, obviously, or there's an Aether Inspector for some more energy cards and a nice sturdy booty on the ground. I think I'll just scoop up the Aether Inspector. I think even in this format, I just never enjoy main decking Naturalize. That could easily change after a few drafts of this format. I have to assume it's good here. And here's another sign green's insanely open, because this Ridge Scale Tusker is just such a strong card. A 5-mana 5/5 that puts a +1/+1 counter on all your other creatures. Just the nuts. And since there's literally nothing in our colors here, we can just scoop that up for our personal collection. And nobody gets to play with it, so... Sorry to whoever was drafting green here. You would have gotten super paid off if everyone else at the table was not drafting red-white, which seems to be the case right now. Yeah, all of it's gone, but that's okay. I've got 28 playables here, so I get to cut some cards when I make this deck. I think I'll be doing just fine, even without getting any more playables in these last few picks. Take the colorless ones here, just in case I need like a 3-mana 2/3 that doesn't have any relevant abilities. Alright, so there goes the whole draft of the first Kaladesh Remastered draft, so let's build this deck and get into some gameplay. So Ally Evasion is very interesting. It's a very, very reactive card, but it's a really powerful one. Say you get into combat with, you know, your 3/3 fighting their 3/3, you can +1/+2 and beat their 3/3. Or say a completely different thing happens, maybe I've got like my 4/4 Self-Assembler out and they try to destroy it with a Naturalize. I can return it to my hand and then recast it later. I think this is just a really good reactive card, so I'm going to keep it in for now. It's only the one. And since I don't have any... Revolt cards I'm trying to trigger, I'll go ahead and take Conviction out. By itself, that return it to its hand ability and the +1/+3 is not super strong. You really want some kind of Revolt synergies to make great use of Conviction. Actually, it is really good with SRAM as well. SRAM is a legendary rare in the set that's a 2-mana 2/2, and you get to draw a card whenever you cast an artifact. I believe it's whenever you cast an aura or an equipment or a vehicle, something like that. But since you get to draw a card whenever you play an aura, if you have SRAM and Conviction, you can just spam it and draw a card for 3 mana whenever you want. It's insane. So yeah, all these cards seem real nice at the 2 mana. And I don't remember exactly how to do this. I think it's T creature. There's some way you gotta do like this, and then you go. There we go. You can actually separate your creatures and non-creature cards to see how your actual like mana curve goes, because your mana curve tends to be what cards are you playing on turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and your removal spells you're kind of just playing whenever you need to remove something. You're not necessarily always playing Harness Lightning turn 2. That's pretty unlikely. All right, so we still need to cut 4 more cards here. I feel like I don't have a lot of creatures, but I do have 3 vehicles, so these like sort of count as creatures. Kind of want to cut some non-creature stuff. Maybe I can cut Impeccable Timing here, because I've got double Harness Lightning, Hungry Flames. These do at least 3 damage, and I have 3 of these total. And Impeccable Timing does 3 damage at a very specific time only, whereas these will do 3 damage to a creature whenever I need it. So I think I can cut Impeccable Timing. It's mildly redundant and kind of worse than the rest of my removal. Could take out the Ally Invasion just because I don't really want to cut a lot of creatures. I want to have a lot in this deck, and I don't really want to cut more of my non-creature stuff because my non-creature stuff is just like good removal. Maybe I cut Fabrication Module here, actually. I didn't end up with a lot of energy stuff. My deck does seem pretty hyper-focused on dwarves and vehicles. I think that ended up going pretty well on that front in terms of like synergy. And I have 4 energy cards to go with Fabrication Module, so by itself, it's not going to trigger a whole lot, and it's only giving 1 counter, so I think I'll go ahead and cut the Fabrication Module there. That puts me down to 42 cards. I'm going to cut 2 more to get to that 17 land, 23 non-land. That is super spicy. I suppose I can cut a Herald of the Fair. That is kind of my weakest creature in the whole deck, I feel. Cut 1 of those. And one more card, I will go ahead and cut the Alley Invasion, even though it does have a high potential. So, as you can see, we also have the brand new Kaladesh Remastered lands. They did it a little differently this time around, so if you want to use the Kaladesh Remastered lands, make sure to go to the store. They are completely free, but you have to go to the store tab and buy the 0 gold bundle that gives you all the Kaladesh Remastered lands. The reason they did that is apparently they were having server issues in the other sets where whenever people would just immediately log in, they would just be bombarded by tons of basic lands getting added to their collections. It would slow down the client, it would slow down the servers, and it would just kind of bug people. So now you only get the lands if you want the lands, you're not just immediately shoved them in your face. So if you do want those lands, make sure to do that. So with that out of the way, the deck is built, the draft is done. I think it looks pretty fun. I'm very excited about this format. I'm excited to see what I get destroyed by, because I'll probably get destroyed this time. But let's find out. Let's get into our first match of Kaladesh Remastered Limited. Alright, so I am going first, and I have the dream combo that I was talking about when I drafted Toolcraft Exemplar into Skyskiff, so that I get to attack with Toolcraft Exemplar as a 3-2 on turn 2, and it looks like the game's a little bit loud on the recording, so I'm going to turn it down there. My apologies if it isn't. I should have tested my audio better before I started recording here, but I really wanted to play the set as soon as possible. I was super excited, so I didn't super test my audio a lot. So I think the game audio is maybe a little loud right now. I'm actually going to cut that down a little more even. So my apologies again if that is being an issue. So Scrap Heap Scrounger, it can't block, but it is a 2-mana 3-2 that comes back from the grave for 2 mana, exiling another creature. So pretty powerful card. But since it can't block, we'll go ahead and just hit them for 3 again, putting them down to 14 on turn 3. Definitely going to be a bit of a race since the Scrounger can't block anyway. Might as well just keep attacking. Ooh, Subtle Strike, very powerful play there. Allowed them to put a +1/+1 counter on Scrap Heap Scrounger and kill our Toolcraft Exemplar since it only has 1 toughness when it's not our turn. It's only a 3-2 during our turn. Well, play a 2/3 Aether Inspector. There's our 2 energy, so we get to see how that's visually represented on Arena. I could crew my Skyskiff and attack here. Yeah, I'm not going to end up blocking Scrap Heap Scrounger, so I may as well get in for 2. Because if I block Scrap Heap Scrounger, I'll just lose Aether Inspector for nothing. Down to 12 now. Turn 4 play is an Aerial Responder. Very, very nice card. 3 mana, 2/3, Flying, Vigilance, and Lifelink. However, Depala is going to be the perfect answer in this situation, actually. So we're not going to cast Self-Assembler here because Depala is going to turn our Dwarf into a 3/4, so it's got 3 power, so now it's still strong enough to attack. And more importantly, when we crew our Skyskiff, that will also get +1/+1, so that will attack as a... or that will block as a 3/4, more importantly, and it will be able to trade with the Aerial Responder. So this actually might have been a little bit of a misplay, just dropping down the Audacious Infiltrator. I guess we'll see. Our opponent is at a pretty low life total, so just having another creature on board seems okay. But if we kept that 2 mana up when we tap Depala, so we could use like Depala to crew the Skyskiff, and when we tapped her, we could actually pay the 2 mana to try to draw an additional Dwarf or vehicle off the top. So that was a little bit of a misplay, potentially. Unfortunately, they are just going to kill Depala immediately, so now our Skyskiff is not going to block as a 3-power creature. The question is, do I still want to crew it? I might as well crew it, just because Depala is going to leave anyway. And unfortunately, we're very unlikely to block here. Ooh, a Heart of Kiran, 2 mana. It only costs 3 to crew for that to be a 4/4 Flying Vigilance. Very powerful. vehicle at Mythic Rare there too, because it's got that alternate ability. You can even remove a loyalty from a planeswalker you control to crew it. So that's definitely more relevant in... Do they have any creatures in grave? I guess they don't have any creatures in grave, so they actually can't get Scrap Heap Scrounger back right now. So I'll actually just trade there. That seems fine. So yeah, Heart of Kieran definitely made more for Constructed, that secondary ability, but even in Limited, just the regular crewing it for 3, that's a very powerful card. 4/4 Flying Vigilance, that is a Sarah Angel. Big old scary threats. So I'm going to have a bad time here. I think Self-Assembler is going to be the best play that I have, because Aether Inspectors are just going to get blocked by Aerial Responder and give them more life. So we don't even have a good attack here. We'll just grab another Self-Assembler. Got a couple 4/4s and pass the turn. It's not looking great here. Our opponent definitely has flying superiority. They've got the air under control. So I guess any of our removal would be great. Revoke Privileges would be not as good because it couldn't kill that Heart of Kieran. But Harness Lightning or Hungry Flames, those would all do the trick. We could block with Sky Skiff and use one of those to kill that card. So now we may as well crew the Sky Skiff, at least stop the damage. They will still gain the life, which is certainly unfortunate. I guess also with a Harness Lightning, we could kill the Fairgrounds Warden, and that would give us our Depala back. Ooh, Chandra's Revolution. So I can shoot Aerial Responder, or I can just shoot Fairgrounds Warden. I feel like Fairgrounds Warden's just the better choice here. Unfortunately, this is a sorcery, so this is not going to be able to kill that Heart of Kieran unless I get them to crew it right now. I guess I could just attack with Self-Assembler before I do anything else, and maybe they'll try to crew and trade. I feel like they're just going to spend the 2 mana to Pacification Array. Oh, they didn't. Okay, so that means I do get to attack with Self-Assembler this turn. It's not going to be blocking anything since all their threats have flying. Are they just going to take the trade? I'm so fine with that. Unless, if they have Ally Invasion, this will be really sad. They just take the trade. Okay. Interesting. I guess with the Hidden Stockpile, they do get a... Oh, that's only at the beginning of their end step they get a 1/1. Alright. Relearning all the cards. Interesting. So, do I want Depala back, or do I just kill their flyer now that I've killed their other flyer? I kind of feel like... Yeah, this Aerial Responder is just so annoying. I think I just kill their flyer here. Having Depala back would be beautiful. Like, then I would have the potential, like, I'd have Depala back, and then I could like screw a Sky Skiff and block the Aerial Responder's 3-power thing, but they've got Pacification Array anyway. They can just keep tapping Sky Skiff whenever I do that. Yeah, I guess the other thing I didn't think about is, again, that secondary ability Depala has. I keep forgetting how good that can be. Where every time I tap her, I can spend any of my extra mana to try to draw more cards off of her. So maybe I should have just gotten Depala there. But I definitely feel a lot safer with them having no flyers on board, because, like, I've got blockers. I've got blockers all day, especially with another 4/4 coming out here. However, they're very likely to start Pacification Arraying the 4/4, but I'll have another 2/3 to block things next turn. I suppose they can't block with Scrap Heap Scrounger right now, but they could double block with a 2/2 and a 1/3. Then I'm trading my 2/3 for a 2/2. That's just bad. So we'll just attack there. They have another creature in their grave. They don't have another creature in grave right now, so they can't bring... Oh, sad day. Daring Demolition on the Self-Assembler. We no longer have a 4/4, so now they can just start pacification arraying one of our 2/3s, and we're just going to have a really hard time blocking things. Do I want to trade with Scrap Heap Scrounger right now? I mean, they're not going to have another creature die for a while. I guess Gears Renegade could just die by them attacking with it again. No, I think I'll just block Fairgrounds Warden, because then I get to get an attack in this turn too, with the Vigilance on the Aether Inspector. Alright, going to my turn. Another land, not really what I'm looking for. I do get to drop out an Aether Inspector. I get to crew my Sky Skiff, hit him for 4, or kill the Countless Gears Renegade. Which, killing the Countless Gears Renegade, like, that's not even really bad for them right now, because they'd get another creature engraved, so they know they can bring back Scrounger again. So I would not be surprised if they just chump block 2 of this damage to just get Gear Renegade to the grave. But it looks like they'll take it. Go down to 7 for now. We'll pass the turn. Again, I do have a lot of blockers now. I think at this point it's safe to say that I don't actually know if I want to trade with Scrounger here. Because they're at 7. We get to attack with everybody. I lose one of these, they take 5. Yeah, I don't think I trade with Scrounger right now. Ooh, that's rough. That's really rough. Now they just get to eat my Inspector and I take 5 here. Inspired Charge put in a lot of work there. I don't know exactly what I was saying there earlier. Oh, I was thinking, I think in hindsight at this point, killing the flyer was definitely right at this point, because they just had a Daring Demolition like immediately. Wow, a 2/1 first strike is really good at blocking a 3/2 that keeps coming back. But they do have Pacification Array. But I feel like it's still worth keeping on top there. Whenever it crews a vehicle, the vehicle gets +1/+1 until end of turn, so I can crew Sky Skiff as a 3/4. I feel like I keep the servos to block. Just attack for 3 here. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I could potentially block with Sky Skiff as a 3/4, but sure, they just tap it. I wasn't blocking with Motorist anyway, so that is fine. This is just some crazy turns here. I've gotten a lot farther than I thought I did when I saw that Heart of Kirin, but I still don't exactly like what's going on right now. I think I will chump with the servo because it's not really going to get in there. Okay. Sorry for the phone notifications if you could hear that. Today's a pretty big, pretty busy day for me. It's not only the launch of Kaladesh Remastered, it's also the launch of PlayStation 5. And I think I'm getting just like FedEx tracking updates on it or something. Very fun day. Very exciting day for sure. Alright, go to my turn. We draw the Gear Shift Ace. Think I just try to crew it. They'll tap it down. Alright, fair. But now that I've drawn Gear Shift Ace, they can't tap down Gear Shift Ace before they attack unless they tap Pacification Array, obviously, which means that Pacification Array would be tapped by the time it goes to my turn, which means I would be able to get an attack with Sky Skiff out. So it looks like they're going to start using that hidden stockpile for some value off of the Scrap Heap Scrounger instead, just play it defensively with the array still. Scry card to the bottom, they're going to get a 1/1 servo in their end step here. And they have an ability, or the ability, to tap Sky Skiff. Ooh hoo hoo! I can turn off a creature, make it can't attack, a block, or crew vehicles. If I throw that on Countless Gears Renegade, I feel like this doesn't help a whole lot right now, because the problem isn't really the size of their creatures. They're all small little babies. But I can shut off one of their creatures. The problem is they can respond by shutting off one of mine. Say they tap down Sky Skiff if I crew it with Motorist. Then they have a 1-3 and a 1-1 to block with, which means I get to get in with the 2-1, 2-3, and 1-1, but then they can block the 2-1, kill that. Block and trade there. They just take 2. Yeah, my attacks are still bad even if I revoke something. So this just feels bad in general. I think I still crew the Sky Skiff. I make them use the Pacification Array mana just because. If I don't do this, they'll just tap down the Gear Shift Ace right now to prevent me from blocking next turn well. But I suppose Scrounger isn't on the board anyway, so it doesn't super matter either way here. Definitely passing here, though. Doesn't feel great. Our opponent has inevitability, like they have the better board for us sitting here and staring at each other forever, which is what makes it suck so hard that I don't have a way to like break through this combat. Because like with Hidden Stockpile and Pacification Array, they've got this on lock a little bit. Ooh, Propeller Pioneer is a really good draw, though. That's going to give me a second flyer. And I think I do want to just play that as big of a flyer as possible, rather than getting another servo token. They're just going to scoop them up. I was going to say, that'll just give me... They'll have 2 flyers, so they can only tap 1 per turn, and yeah, I guess they're just over the grindy board stall that we were having there. So, that will be a win for the first round of Kaladesh Remastered. With our red, white, dwarves, and vehicles deck. I feel like the game definitely wasn't unlocked yet, but drawing that flyer was a huge swing in our favor, so we were definitely, I think, more likely to win than them at that point. But certainly was not time to concede if they were playing for maximum value or anything like that. Whew, that is a good draw. Give me that Scry 2. Ooh, Propeller Pioneer, and the land to play it. So I'll hit my 4th land when I have the 4th mana. Alright, well, Scry 2 for no value. Just leave them in the same order. Certainly looks fine to me. Key to the City is an interesting card. They can tap it and discard a card to make one of their creatures unblockable 10 end of turn. And then for 2 mana when this untaps, they can draw a card. So they basically get to loot cards away with that, as well as making creatures unblockable. So definitely a nice card in like a green deck where you have big creatures. However, our starting curve here is going to be really powerful. We just played a 3-power creature on turn 2, and then we played a 3-power creature on turn 3 as well. And they're just playing rare artifacts that will give them a lot of value throughout this game. They're going to scry 1 and draw cards off of that thing. But if I can just keep putting pressure out, put as much damage as I can on this board, hopefully I can just kill them before they can get any creatures out, really. And if they do get some creatures out, maybe they're small enough that I can harness lightning them. They're playing green, though, so if any color was going to have a creature with more than 3 toughness at this point, it would be green. But hopefully our little Boros aggro here is just too fast, and it looks like they may be stuck on mana as well. That is certainly an incredibly good sign for us. They're actually just 1 damage away from death now. Yeah, I don't see how we can lose this. And there's the scoop from our opponent there. So a little rough they didn't hit that land drop on turn 4, but it was really thanks to our deck and our start that missing that 1 land drop could cost them the whole game there, because we had just a really nice aggressive start. Plus, our opponent did keep a little bit of a dirtly hand with just some really powerful late-game value cards to play in the early turns, rather than anything that actually like blocks or affects the board, so that was certainly helpful for us. So this is a little bit of a slower hand, but I think it's a pretty powerful one. We've got Tapala turn 3 into Bomat Bazaar Barge turn 4. Just really powerful. We also have Hunger Flames for some interaction to deal with any of our opponent's smaller creatures if we want to. And the ability of Dapala to crew that Bazaar Barge and then attack with it as a 6/6 and use that X mana to try to draw more vehicles and dwarfs, that just seems super spicy. I'm very excited by this start. I'm so excited by this start that I am stuttering. We'll see what our opponent wants to play here. I think that was a mulligan, not sure. I'm going to keep 7. Looks like their hand shuffled around a little. Yep, looks like our opponent took 1 mulligan. They're playing blue, and they start off with a Thriving Turtle. Very cute card. 1 mana for a 0/3, comes into play with 2 energy, and then when it attacks, you can spend 2 energy to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So by itself, it's like a 1 mana 1/4. Very sturdy blocker. Very sturdy little turtle there. Blue-black from our opponent. Glint Sleeve Siphoner. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, they get an energy. And at the beginning of their upkeep, they can pay 2 of it to draw a card and lose life. So they're just going to draw a lot of cards off that thing, because right now they already have the 2 energy from Thriving Turtle, so they can just immediately draw a card with it. I think for that reason, Harness Lightning was an incredible draw here. We can actually just kill that Glint Sleeve Siphoner right now, because if that stays on board, that's just going to draw them a lot of cards. I think that's to the point where I would have just used Hungry Flames next turn if I didn't draw Harness Lightning. Looks like I still need to turn the game down a little bit. So, again, apologies if there's any audio issues. Things are kind of crazy here. Another Scrap Heap Scrounger. We definitely saw the value of that card as well. Our opponent is off to just a really good start. They only have the 2 mana, but Glint Sleeve Siphoner and Scrap Heap Scrounger are both really powerful cards in terms of just accruing value over the turn, or over the course of the whole game. So we're taking 3 there. We're definitely not trading with Dapala. That'll just come back anyway. So they're going to spend all their energy to kill our Dapala. Very unfortunate, because now we can't block with Bazaar Barge this turn if we play it. I think I'm still going to play it, because if I just play Aether Inspector, we're not going to end up blocking, because it's just a 2/3. So we'll trade with Scrounger, and then they'll just get it back by exiling the Siphoner. So I think we play Bazaar Barge here. We're definitely hoping to hit our 5th mana for a Self-Assembler. Just anything that has more than 3 toughness would be fantastic right now. And I guess Bazaar Barge counts too, so we could just play like Frontline Rebel and crew Bazaar Barge instead. We do have a Chandra's Evolution. We could kill Scrap Heap Scrounger, tap down one of her lands for a second. Hungry Flames can kill it as well. I don't really feel like I want to use removal, though, if I don't have to. I'm going to go ahead and play Audacious Infiltrator, because that can crew Bazaar Barge and let it block at any time, whereas Frontline Rebel is only going to be able to crew Bazaar Barge the 1 time, and then from that point on, I have to tap it during my turn or it'll attack. So with the Infiltrator, I can actually use that to crew Bazaar Barge every turn as a blocker. See what they do here. I'm feeling good about our chances this game, just because our opponent has like not a lot of mana, not a lot of cards. I mean, Implement of Examination certainly helps them there. Yeah, they're going to draw 2 here. I'm not feeling so good anymore. But I was going to say, I was feeling decent, but Scrap Heap Scrounger is just it's very threatening without anything big enough to block it without trading. So, like, if they deal with Audacious Infiltrator here, I feel like I'm under a lot of pressure just from the Scrounger. Alright, so they pass turn. We do have the 5 mana now. We can drop down a Self-Assembler. I think that's the play. I don't think a removal spell's right here. Like, I could kill, like, the 1/1 Death Touch, but I think if that attacks me, I just take 1 for now. Eventually, I'll try to block it with, like, a Servo or something smaller. For now, I just want to make sure that I have multiple options to block Scrap Heap Scrounger. I'm not just relying on the Bazaar Barge. And I have a feeling that our opponents probably won't even attack with the Death Toucher at this point, because now I have a 5/5 and a 4/4 on board, like threatening attacks. So they may want to just save that to make sure that I can't really crack back for anything. We'll see. They could attack with... They could attack with Thriving Turtle. And then it would be a 2/5 on attacks with that counter. I'm going to go ahead and reboot Arena real fast just to make sure. So sorry for the black screen for a second. So yeah, I'm thinking they're like what they can do with the energy. If they have another die young or live fast or anything like that, that would be pretty terrifying. But as far as what they have on board, I'm not worried about them getting another 1/1 servo. I'm not worried about them getting a 2/5. And it's a good thing I rebooted Arena there, because apparently it was waiting on me. This is the earliest I could possibly be playing Kaladesh Remastered at the time of this recording, so there's probably going to be a little bit of bugginess like there is every launch. So my apologies for that. At least it doesn't seem like it's going to cost me this game. I have not timed out and lost yet. So they probably have like instant speed, -1, -1 to something right now. Or -2, -2 or something like that. But I think I still want to just try and trade with Infiltrator. See what they have. Okay. Well, that makes me feel awful, because it didn't stop during their turn at all, which means if I just blocked with Self-Assembler, I probably would have just not lost a creature at all. What a bluff! That's actually kind of insane to me. I wouldn't have expected that bluff at all, and I definitely got by it. Because I just really didn't want to lose my, my 4/4s. I suppose the safest play... Yeah, the best play there, I was mildly distracted by the whole rebooting Arena and stuff. But the best play there in hindsight was definitely just to crew the Bazaar Barge and block. Because if you lose like a vehicle, that's not as bad as losing a full-on creature. Because the vehicle, you have to keep spending creatures, like tapping creatures over and over to use them. So that would have been a lot better to just crew the Bazaar Barge and then block with that. Even if they had like a -2/-2 instant speed spell or something like that. So... yeah, apparently the whole reason they attacked there was to get the Revolt trigger off the Night Market Aeronaut. So that feels super bad that I lost a creature in that trade there. Definitely seems not great on my front. So things aren't looking awesome here. I'm at a pretty low life total, and they're going to get a Scrap Heap Scrounger back again, but I do have bigger creatures than they have, and I have the removal to get things under control here. Like, I think I'm just going to Chandra's Revolution the Flyer and save Hungry Flames for the future. I guess I could Hungry Flames first, actually, because that would allow me to just cast another Infiltrator instead. Yeah, I'll save Chandra's Revolution for the future. Probably going to just use it on Aether Poisoner so I can start getting in with my massive creatures. Try to turn things around that way. But we're still not going to attack in the Death Toucher at this point. They are out of energy now. Wait, what did they use the energy on? Did they actually not have energy that whole time? I thought it said they had 2 or something. When it enters battlefield, you get 2. When it attacks, they can spend 2 and make a servo. I actually don't know what they use the energy on. Because it's not showing up right now. Oh, Cloud Blazer. That feels awful. Now they've got another flyer to threaten me with, and more importantly, they also get to draw 2 cards and gain 2 life off that. That card is just straight value. Very powerful card. That's a tremendously rough turn for me. Like, I'm just hoping for them to run out of gas at any point, and just every card in their deck draws like a million cards. More like just one or two. That was a bit of an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. I suppose I can Chandra's Revolution now, and then we just shoot the flyer. Doesn't feel great. I think I just actually play a Sky Skiff to block the flyer. Let's just go Aether Inspector, Sky Skiff. We plan to Chandra's Revolution to Death Toucher still. Don't really have great attacks. My only thing that can really attack in is my 4/4, because my 3/1 just dies to the 1/4. Don't want to trade a 4/4 for the 1/1 Death Toucher still. Nor do I want to trade my Bomet Bazaar Barge. Glimmer, there they go again, scrying 2, drawing 2 more cards. This is just Esper draw spells over here. Feels bad. Oh, I have 4 energy apparently. Oh, they do have 4 energy, it just disappeared when I wasn't looking at their avatar. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that's intentional. I want the energy to just stay there forever so I can always see that. So yeah, they had 2 energy from Aether Poisoner, they just got 2 more from Glimmer of Genius, now they're getting 3 more from Aether Theorist, which is now just going to start scrying every turn. Ooh. Our opponent has some long game plans here. Just going to keep scrying and drawing cards and getting all of the value. Ooh, Gearshift Ace is awesome here. Whenever that crews something, it gives it first strike as well. Yeah, I was going to say, I actually don't even need to play Chandra's Revolution right now then. If I just play, like, Gearshift Ace and Frontline Rebel, and then for now, like, I can crew this with Gearshift Ace and, like, my 2/3. What is not blocking? My 3/1's not blocking, so we'll crew it with those two. Now I have a 5/5 first strike attacker. I just don't think they can block that well. Yeah, they don't have any block that works well for them. So now I just get to start getting into that every turn. Obviously, in future turns, I'm going to crew that with Frontline Rebel plus Gearshift Ace. Since Frontline Rebel will try to attack, and don't know if we really want that. Maybe we actually want a 3/3 attacking here. That doesn't seem the worst. Their creatures are very small, and I'm not going to feel that bad trading a 3/3 for a 1/1 Death Toucher. We'll just see what happens here. Fortuitous Find, once again getting absolutely insane amounts of value. I think we definitely want to just start crewing vehicles, just smashing in, because if we don't, they're just going to draw through like their whole deck until they've drawn like some kind of crazy bomb mythic or something. So yeah, of course, they return Implement of Examination, which draws them 2 cards. They return Glitsleeve Siphoner, which is going to draw them 4 cards if it sits here forever, because it'll draw them 1 card per 2 energy every upkeep. So maybe we actually are going to want to Chandra's Revolution, the Glitsleeve Siphoner. Be mildly embarrassing, but could be a thing. Just kill it twice. Go to my turn. Revoke privileges. Enchanted creature can't attack, block, or crew vehicles. So that is not good on Glitsleeve Siphoner. It'll still keep drawing cards, but unfortunately we don't have the mana to do both of these, but I can use that on the Death Toucher in the future. So that's certainly nice. And I guess we'll tap down an island. Definitely, we're tapping down an island or plains, doesn't really matter. They can obviously just respond by sacrificing that to draw 2 cards, but they would just do the same thing if I tapped an island, or if I tapped a plains. Does not matter. So, what is the worst that happens if I do attack with Frontline Rebel here? I suppose I would attack with Frontline Rebel. They could block it with a 2/2 and a 1/3, and then I'm trading Frontline Rebel for a 2/2. That doesn't seem that bad. I mean, it lowers their field and everything. So I think we're going to crew with these two. And then we're going to attack with Frontline Rebel and the Bazaar Barge. And how bad is attacking with Aether Inspector? Like, I trade with the Death Toucher or a 2/2, but I do get my servo out of it, and I do really want a servo right now because just having a 1-power creature to crew the Sky Skiff is nice. But I suppose I could just crew it with the Self-Assembler, I can crew it with the Aether Inspector. I think I'm fine here to wait till the Death Toucher's gone at least. But then again, I don't really like waiting over and over. Yeah, I'll attack with the 2/3. Waiting does still generally seem bad. They've drawn 1 million cards. They're going to scry 1 million cards still at this point. And that's like at the worst. They have 8 energy right now. There are plenty of other things they could do, like draw cards with it if they get another kind of Glint Sleeve Siphoner type effect. So they're going to trade with the Frontline Rebel. That's fine with me. So I will get my other servo out of the Aether Inspector unless they choose to block with their 2/2 as well here. That is a no. Alright, damage resolves. They're down to 10 now. That 5/5 First Striker really putting in work. Gearshift Ace being a very powerful card right now. And we'll pass the turn. And now we actually just have Revoke Privileges as a backup for anything else since we didn't have to use it on the Death Toucher. So it makes me feel a little comfy. Not a lot. That makes me feel like this game's more 50-50 than anything else, because, again, we have no idea what these 5 cards are, and they've been scrying a lot. These could easily be cards powerful enough to flip things back in my opponent's favor. The first one's just a land, so for now I'm safe. They're definitely dropping into the think tank here. Going to combat. They are going to attack with Cloud Blazer and Scrap Heap Scrounger, so that makes me think they've definitely got like an Inspired Charge or something. I'm still going to just block things at face level here. Like, just block everything at face value because of what happened last time we blocked. They could very easily have some Revolt cards they're wanting to do. And losing Sky Skiff is not the end of the world. All it's doing is trying to block the Cloud Blazer, so if we lose Sky Skiff, then I'll just Revoke Privileges the Flyer. It is not a massive deal. It is a bit of a big deal to lose a Self-Assembler, though. And a massive deal to lose all my 1 toughness creatures. What a draw. Holy crap. Yeah, now that I think of it, that's absolutely devastating. Just destroy almost my entire field there. Well, does not feel good. That is for sure. Now we just have another land. Bomet Bazaar Barge costs 3 to crew, so I can't even crew it without using Self-Assembler. Oh boy. I think I will attack with Aether Inspector. That way I can get a servo, so if they don't do the double block... If they don't do the double block, I can potentially crew Bomet Bazaar Barge and attack with Self-Assembler in the same turn. Maybe it would have been best to revoke privileges one of these things before it attacks, so they can't do a trade here. I don't know. I feel like I'm still going to end up just needing to revoke privileges the Flyer, because I'm on a 5-turn clock to it. I suppose I'm like already losing over the course of a long game regardless. Yeah, That make obsolete, that is the kind of card I was talking about. That would just absolutely swing things right back in my opponent's favor. Just massively. They are down to 6, though. I'm going to just pass turn. I'm not going to revoke privileges quite yet. Oh my god, okay. I want to concede right now, but it's not technically over. What a play. So, Illusionist Stratagem takes 2 of their creatures and artifacts and exiles them and returns them to the battlefield. So what they did there is, off of this 1 card, they managed to draw the card off of Stratagem and draw 2 more cards and gain 2 more life off Cloudblazer and get 3 more energy off Aether Theorist. The amount of value going on in my opponent's deck is insane. They've drawn 9 more cards than I have, and I've drawn a card off Bomat Bazaar Barge at the least. And I've drawn a card off Self-Assembler. They've drawn 9 more cards than me, and I've drawn 2 more cards than just drawing a card every turn. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna do a little chump here. Just chump next turn. That is a 5/5 that can't be blocked by artifact creatures. So I can't block that with the Servo, can't block that with Bomat Bazaar Barge. I can shut it off with Revoke Privileges, but then I die to the Flyer. If I Revoke Privileges the Flyer, I block Scrounger. Aether Inspector blocks there. I take 1, 2, 3. That's not going to do it. That is game. That was a rough one. That was an absolutely devastating one. But yeah, it's just like I was saying throughout the course of that game. Our opponent's deck was insane amounts of value. That's just the kind of shenanigans blue will do to you, just toying with you throughout the game. Like, you know, several instances there where it felt like we were possibly swinging things in our favor, but you always have to keep in mind, wait a second, my opponent has scryed like 15 times and drawn 10 more cards than me. Not quite, 9 more cards than me. There was just absolutely no way, regardless of like what was in the deck other than the draw spells. And the cards that were in there that weren't the draw spells were really powerful too, with Glint Sleeve, Siphoner, and Scrap Heap Scrounger, all of these cards that like give you perpetual value over the course of the game. That was just a spicy deck from our opponent. Very well played. So let's head into round 3 here. See if we can get something crazy going with this. Get some early game aggro. We're definitely not trying to get in any long game situations. Our deck is not gonna go well there. Ooh, Bomat Courier. That is a rough way to start this one. After losing a game to our opponents just getting a massive amount of perpetual value, seeing Bomat Courier as the first card from our opponent is super rough. Because if this survives for a long game, say it survives to the point where they only have 1 or 2 cards in their hand, they can then use it, sacrifice it, and just draw all of the cards that they've exiled under it. So it can let them draw a lot of cards. They're on red-black. I don't think I want to just immediately take the trade here, because I do have a Chandra's Revolution in the future. I'm going to have a Frontline Rebel out next turn, so I'll have a 3 toughness creature to block it, so they can't attack next turn. I feel like I can just deal with that in the future. Scrap Heap Scrounger can't block anything. Am I just going to play against Scrap Heap Scrounger in every round? That would be the worst. That would be the worst. Ooh boy, so they are full-on red-black artifact aggro. So, Weldfast Engineer. At the beginning of combat on the turn, target artifact creature control gets +2/+0 till end of turn. They smack in for 6 here, I go to 12. Or I trade, I take 3, go to 15. I do have Chandra's Revolution next turn, so I could go Plains, Chandra's Revolution, hit them for 6, they go to 11. So then I'm at 12, they're at 11. I tap down one of their lands, I get hit for 4. I think Chandra's Revolution's the play, because then if I hit another land on turn 5, Self-Assembler can really stop things, and slowing them down a turn seems really nice here as well, just tapping down that swamp, so hopefully I keep them off that color of mana. We'll see if it works out. I did draw the 5th land for Self-Assembler, so let's see. See if this does anything for me. Ooh, there's another swamp, so we didn't lock them off of black mana, but we still locked them off of playing a 4-mana card this turn at the very least. So hopefully that was their plan. Just a 2-mana 2/1 there. Not the worst case scenario, we are taking 4. This can't be blocked by artifact creatures, so I have 6 damage that they're very unlikely to block here. I am at 8 though. If I hit them for 6, I put them down to 5. I think I just play Self-Assembler and attack with everybody. But things are getting scary, because I'm at 8. That's not a very comfortable life total to sit at. I think we're still going for it. It's the back and forth swing. Grab some 4/4s to start blocking. So Cobra's only option is to chump block if they want to block. It requires a green mana to give that death touch and trade up. And they do not have a green mana right now. They might just be running it as a 2-mana 2/1 to work with cards like Wildfast Engineer and Unlicensed Disintegration, anything like that. I should not have said Unlicensed Disintegration because I may have just called for it to come and kill me right now. That's 3 mana, destroy a creature, instant speed, and if you control an artifact, you do 2 to the controller, 2 or 3. Either way, that would be lethal because they'd kill my blocker and do some damage to me. So, just pretend I said nothing. Okay, Daring Demolition. I got really scared there, so I'm not quite dead. If they attack with everything. I mean, if they attack with everything, they're dead. This is a scary game, but I think I'm in favor to win it right now because Audacious Infiltrator can't be blocked by artifact creatures, and they're playing this deck that primarily focuses on artifact-based attackers. So Audacious Infiltrator, if I hit them twice with the Infiltrator, they will die. Frontline Rebel does have to attack each combat Fable, so he won't be able to block, unfortunately. But they have to block Frontline Rebel, so I get to kill one of their creatures here. I think they probably block with Bomat Burrier and draw those cards under it. Which kind of sucks. Our opponent gets to draw 4 cards here. They do have to exile whatever's in their hand, but presumably it's not something useful if they're exiling it here. Yeah, just a couple creatures. Okay, so I have to play a creature here at least. I think I'm going to play Aether Inspector and Sky Skiff, and the reason is if they have any removal and I play Self-Assembler, I just die, because they kill Self-Assembler and I have no blockers. If I play Aether Inspector and Sky Skiff, if they have a removal spell to use on Aether Inspector, I can respond by crewing Sky Skiff and then blocking with Sky Skiff instead. So this is the safer play to make. Now if they have a removal spell, I think they probably use it on Audacious Infiltrator, and apparently they had no removal spell whatsoever, so we are going to win that one. It would have required, I think, 2 removal spells for them to be safe there, because they'd have to now get rid of Sky Skiff as well, because they don't have any flyers on board. Whew. So that was a very scary game, super back and forth. Basically all hinged on what they drew off of that Bomat Courier. But I definitely am proud of seeing that line of playing the Aether Inspector instead of just dropping down the 4/4. Because, yeah, that was certainly the safer play, to get the vehicle and the creature instead of just a creature out that turn. All right. We are heading into our 4th game of Kaladesh Remastered, 2 wins and 1 loss thus far, starting with maybe the best hand we've had so far, an intense curve of turn 2 Veteran Motorist, turn 3 Depala, turn 4 Bazaar Barge. The absolute vehicle dream. And now we have a Revoke Privileges backup. The Veteran Motorist is going to scry us 2 cards, make sure we hit our 4th land drop. I do like both of these cards, but we have a Bazaar Barge at 4 and a Self-Assembler at 5, so we need to hit lands here. So I'm just going to throw those on the bottom. See what our opponent has. Another black-red deck. Starting off with a Die Young, just kill the Veteran Motorist immediately. And we draw a replacement. Might have been best to just drop down Motorist there, because then we could scry 2 again and make sure that we have a land on top. This play's certainly a little riskier, because now if we don't draw land, yeah, we're a little sad here. Now we just drop a Motorist to scry. We could also just revoke Privileges and make sure they don't have this Death Touch Lifelinker just sitting here forever. But it's possible, if I just drop Motorist, it's possible they don't even attack, because I can just trade with Motorist. Or, there's the land I need, and Frontline Rebel doesn't do a lot. I think I'll put that on bottom as well. Definitely not going to attack into that Death Touch. So yeah, I don't think they attack here, because they probably want to hold off the Paula, I assume. Scrap Heap Scrounger, what?! We're literally going to run into Scrap Heap Scrounger every single game today. What is happening? Oh, they forgot to put the RNG in the packs. Come on now. My God. So our opponent has 2 Death Touchers now. That is not what we want to see. But, you know, we'll deal with it. We're just going to sit here then. Our opponent will probably sit here as well. With 2 Death Touchers, though, they can certainly attack with one of them. Does this happen when it enters the battlefield? Only when it attacks, but Ballista Charger is going to be nice. We can shoot down Aether Poisoner just by attacking with it. They attack with Scrap Heap Scrounger. Interesting. It's not the end of the world if Bowman Bazaar Barge dies here, because we do have the Ballista Charger as well, which is also nice. See if they've got an instant here. They do have Unlicensed Disintegrations they're going to use to destroy the Bowman Bazaar Barge. I'm actually fine with that, because that means that Depala is safe from getting Unlicensed Disintegration, and Depala can potentially draw me a bunch of cards over the course of this game. So do I want to drop a Ballista Charger right now? I hate their field so much. 2 Death Touchers that are just going to trade off with anything and then go to the grave and then Scrap Heap Scrounger, which will just keep coming back. I hate their field so much. I am going to drop Ballista Charger. It's another creature that's going to be a 7/7 whenever I accrue it right now. And, alright. They just have another Daring Demolition, whatever. At least Depala's safe. Depala's our only way to try to draw cards and take over the game that way. Am I actually just going to revoke Scrap Heap Scrounger's privileges? I feel like that's not the play. I'm going to play Self-Assembler here. Grab another Self-Assembler. They're going to have to work through 2 Self-Assemblers to keep hitting me with Scrap Heap Scrounger at this point. Should be impressive, but they're black-red, so they could certainly do it. They do play a 3/1 Menace that comes into play with a 1/1 Servo. So now they could be trying to do like Menace shenanigans. I do really want another creature to crew, or another vehicle to crew with Depala, so I'd need to draw like my Sky Skiff right now. That seems not great. I do have enough mana to play Frontline Rebel and revoke Privileges. But they have 2 Death Touch creatures, so revoke Privileges doesn't really help me get in with Depala. I suppose... I could just like attack with Depala and just sacrifice her to try to draw 6. Yeah, for now, we've got plenty of cards to keep playing. Let's just play the cards we have before we're trying to like sacrifice creatures to draw cards here. Might have been a little better to play Frontline Rebel there, just because then I have a blocker I'm okay with blocking a Death Touch creature with. Fenhauler can't be blocked by artifact creatures. That's fine. Oh my God, we actually drew the Sky Skiff. I asked and I received, and now I can potentially draw more cards with DePaul in the future. So with a Fen Hauler out, I might actually want to revoke that. I don't think I'm going to do that immediately. Like, I can trade with a Frontline Rebel and a Motorist. That might be fine. Opponent's field is pretty good. If I revoke that, I'm just sitting here staring at the Death Touchers forever still. I suppose at that point I get to start attacking with like smaller creatures. Then I just like attack with my 3/3, then my 4/2, then my 4/4s. Just work my way up smallest to biggest creatures. Like attack with Aether Inspector as well. Yeah. I could also double block Fen Hauler with 2 3/3s. They do get to kill DePaula if I do that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm going to revoke Fen Hauler's privileges just right now and pass. They are sending in Scrap Heap Scrounger, so let's see what nonsense they have. Make obsolete. Oh no, 4th Bridge Prowler, give exactly -1/-1, kill off the Self-Assembler. Sad day. Sad day. But that's okay, I mean, it's just a 1/1 on the board now. It does not really affect the board after that point. Ooh, Defiant Salvager. That's kind of scary. It's a 3/3 right now. They can start sacrificing their 1/1s, turn it into a 4/4, and then a 5/5. Pretty scary. Harness Lightning is a nice draw. I can kill one of the Death Touchers with that. So before I do anything else, I'll just attack with Frontline Rebel, because it has to attack. If I Harness Lightning the Defiant Salvager now, they have to sacrifice 3 more things for it to survive. And that seems almost definitely bad. So I think I Harness Lightning it. And yeah, we just trade Frontline Rebel and Harness Lightning for that. Was that only a sorcery? Oh, it's only a sorcery! Oh, I'm a doofus. I'm actually kind of a doofus. That makes me sad. Oh, I should have read that card better. I have to treat this like it's a brand new format and not use my offhand knowledge of cards that came out like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, I thought that was one of those things you could do at any time. Because that was only as a sorcery, I should have just spent 1 energy. That way I'd have 4 energy out for my Aether Inspector. It's not super likely to matter, but it could. So definitely a worse play to spend all the mana there. And now we have 2 Aether Inspectors, so just start whittling away the Death Touch creatures here by attacking with my weakest creatures. Send in the Aether Inspector first, and then obviously next turn, because I'm going to play Sky Skiff here, I can start trying to draw cards off DePaula. I think I have a good position here for the long game. I don't want to attack with my Veteran Motorist because they can just trade for their 2 1/1 servos. Obviously I don't want to attack with DePaula either. Welding Sparks. Opponent does have a lot of removal, I will give them that. Pass the turn. Scrap Heap Scoundrel's probably coming back now. Not super scary though, I will just block it with a 4/4 again. Actually at this point I'll just block it with a Aether Inspector as a 3/4. That way if they have another thing to give -1/-1, at least I don't lose my 4/4. I guess I do have enough energy to create another 1/1 servo, so I should probably block with Self-Assembler first, because a 3/4 plus a 1/1 is probably slightly more valuable than just a single 4/4. I'm very surprised that they chose to attack there, because I guess they just really wanted Revolt, but if they really wanted Revolt, I think you just attack with a single servo there, and then I block with like my 3/4, and they get their Volt trigger. Very surprised they attack with the Death Toucher there, because that makes it so I'm even closer to potentially attacking in with everybody. So attack with Aether Inspector. I'm going to use my energy. I'm going to wait to use Dapala and Skyskiff until my opponent's turn. Because they might not realize that Dapala gives vehicles +1/+1 as well. So they might try to attack in with their flyer. Okay, so we trade there. That seems fine with me. I don't think it's likely that we're going to end up killing the Aeronaut with the Skyskiff, but I also just want the Skyskiff to be able to block the Aeronaut. I don't want any of their creatures to be able to hit me. So I'm not going to crew it during my turn and attack anyway. Alright. So we'll crew Skyskiff now. We're going to pay 7. Look at the top 7 cards for any dwarfs. I have used all my vehicles already, I believe. We did get an Audacious Infiltrator, and that is it. I wish I could see all the revealed cards. I only see 3. Oh, there they are. Hungry Flames and a bunch of lands. Well, I'm happy to get those lands on the bottom. So that is overall fine. There's a Herald of the Fair, too. Something +1/+1 till end of turn when it comes into play. Okay. What am I attacking with now? They have a Weldfast Monitor. Okay, that gets Menace till end of turn. I was really worried that would get First Strike till end of turn. I think I attack with Veteran Motorist. They can trade with Aeronaut or Weldfast. I think they'll just trade with Weldfast if I attack with it. But if I attack with Self-Assembler, they can double block with Weldfast and a 1/1. Seems not great. If I +1/+1 on Self-Assembler, actually... Oh, they still have their Death Toucher. What am I talking about? Yeah, that was dumb of me. I forgot they had their Death Toucher. I was so ready to make my Self-Assembler a 5/5 there. That would have been so spicy. Okay, so if I attack with Motorist, they probably just trade with the Death Toucher. That's what I would like them to do. Actually, no, they'll definitely just trade with Monitor. Yeah, I think I attack with Weldfast, trade with the Monitor. Next turn I attack with my Herald of the Fair and my Audacious Infiltrator. Just keep attacking with our weakest creatures. Not the Servo, though. Yeah, if that thing gained First Strike off of that red mana ability, I would be in a world of hurt right now. Going to my turn, let's go ahead and look at the top 2. For dwarfs, Harness Lightning and Frontline Rebel. Alright, maybe I should stop doing that, because I don't know actually how many dwarfs I have left. So that could just be a bad idea. I might have all my dwarfs on the field already. Okay. They still have the Death Toucher. If I attack with Herald of the Fair, they've only got 1 servo, that's fine, so I trade with something. If I attack with Audacious Infiltrator, they can't block it with artifacts anyway, so I just trade with something, that's fine. I think I actually attack with... No. If I lose Dapala... Now, if I lose Dapala, it's not bad, actually, at this point. Because if I look at the next 7 cards, I'll have looked through my entire library. So I'll just do that. Yeah. I guess, like, the bad part of this is... Okay, now I've looked through my whole library. The bad part of this is if I lose Dapala, I don't have a big enough flyer to kill the Night Market Aeronaut anymore. That is the part that I didn't think through. That may be an issue. But if they just attack with Night Market Aeronaut, they have 1 creature that can block. I feel like there's no way that I don't win that race unless they draw very well. Yeah, that's fine. Because, yeah, I can last-ditch effort. I can block with Skyskiff on the last turn. Oh, Toolcraft Exemplar 2. Oh! Look at these juicy draws. Thank you to Paula for all these cards that you've blessed me with. Just get in there. They've got a 1/1 servo to block with. That is it. Yeah, they're down to 5. I think we've got it in the bag. Fatal push on the gear shift ace. I may as well crew. They scoop him up. So yeah, I crew there, and then I have a good blocker for Scrap Heap Scrounger if they do some kind of last-ditch effort attack. And I feel like in that position, I actually would have just chump blocked the Scrap Heap with my 1/1 and blocked their flyer with the Sky Skiff, because I just wanted to make sure there was absolutely no way I could lose there off of that attack. Either way, I definitely would have wanted that Sky Skiff crewed. So that was a nice game. Unfortunately, that Mastery Pass is just going to keep giving me Zendikar packs, but I want Kaladesh. I want all these artifacts. I absolutely love artifact-based shenanigans. The vehicles are pretty cool, but the cards I'm actually most excited for in this set are a bunch of historic Brawl cards like Paradoxical Outcome and Paradox Engine. Anything with Paradox in the name, really. That stuff is spicy. This hand's a little awkward. We don't have any early game plays except removal, but hopefully we can just fly by on that for a little while. Our opponent is on white and black, starting with a Pacification Array again. We are playing against some similar cards in these first few games, this first draft here, really. Don't think I'm going to Harness Lightning. They're 2/2, so I'll just drop my Audacious Infiltrator. It's definitely a good draw. It gave us an early game creature to play. I'm actually fine with that trade. I don't have anything spicy to do with this Infiltrator in the future. They're gonna impeccable timing with it. I'm very fine with that trade. I'm super fine getting rid of a removal spell there. I actually like that even better than if we just traded with the mechanic. Now we have a Frontline Rebel. They have an Implement of Malice out. They can pay 1 mana, discard that. They'll make me discard a card, and they will draw a card. They chose not to sacrifice it immediately, I guess because they're going to use Pacification Array, or potentially because they're going to try to wait and really ruin my day when I get down to only like 1 or 2 cards in hand. So I'll have to keep that in mind. So they do tap down my Frontline Rebel, so I'll go ahead and play an Aether Inspector now, so I have another creature that is large enough to attack into that 2/2. I like how this looks right now. I mean, they've got a couple 2/2s out, a Pacification Ray and an Implement of Malice, but then they have 1 card in hand. I have a Self-Assembler, so I'm going to have 2 4/4s here. The Self-Assembler's just been putting in work in these games. Even though I only have 2 copies of them, just 5 mana for a 4/4 that makes sure that I draw another 4/4 next turn is just so nice. So they did choose to pop the Implement of Malice there. I wasn't sure if they were going to do that immediately, which is why I scried the land to the bottom. If I knew they were going to use that immediately, I definitely would have rather known that I would draw land that turn so I could drop down Self-Assembler here. But I think I'm still in a fine spot overall. I think I'm going to play Harness Lightning and an Infiltrator here. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm probably not going to cast Harness Lightning right now. I'll just save it as an instant speed trick if they try to double block. And if they don't, then I'll just have the mana up to do that next turn if they play a scary creature during their turn. For now, we will just play our Infiltrator. If they don't play any creatures, we can actually shoot Aviary Mechanic, and then they don't have anything that can block Audacious Infiltrator, which would be really cool. Ballista Charger, that's scary. I'm actually going to go the route of trying to get rid of all of their creatures so that that can't attack. Because they only have 1 card in hand. So if I can kill all their creatures on board, if that 1 card in their hand is not another creature, this Ballista Charger is going to be a sad, lonely vehicle. So, if we can do that, that would be super spicy. Oh my god, and there's a Hungry Flames as well, so we've got another removal spell after all this nonsense. So I will use Chandra's Revolution, because it is sorcery speed. And they didn't even choose to crew Ballista Charger at that point. Oh, I guess they couldn't because it cost 3 to crew. Yeah, I was worried they could just respond by crewing and then block that turn, so I would just attack with Infiltrator, but they didn't actually have enough power to crew at that point, so I'd get a really big attack in there. That was just a brutal turn. We drew a lot of removal, and our opponent didn't draw a whole lot of stuff, not a lot of action there. So this first draft is going very nicely. We've made it to 5 wins. The drafts usually cost about 1,500 gems, so at this point we're straight up in the value. We're getting 100 gems and 4 packs, basically just as prizes, just as free stuff. I don't know why my brain stops working sometimes, but I just tried to drink water and talk at the same time. That's how thirsty I am right now. I've been talking a lot. I don't actually know how long I've been recording because my my recording program is not saying, but this has been it's been quite a draft. Quite a draft. Oh, I've been recording an hour and 34 minutes. This is going to be a chonky video for you all. I'm glad to upload it for you guys because it has been quite a while since I've done a Magic Arena video. Much apologies about that. But as always, the like fall season, like September to Christmas, is always so busy with my work. And also I've been doing some video gaming stuff over on my Twitch channel as my my hobby time, my free time lately. But with the launch of Kaladesh Remastered, as you can tell, I'm having a lot of fun with the set. I'll be doing some draft videos of this for you all. And this is another really nice hand. I don't actually know if I want to start with Gear Shift Ace or Veteran Motors first. I think it's got to be Motorist, right? Because we're trying to hit 5 lands for Self-Assembler. Ooh, wow, these are really nice draws. We're going to put them back like that. Draw Harness Lightning first. We already have our turn 3 play, or our turn 3 land. Yeah, this is just a brutal start. So yeah, I'm going to start with Veteran Motors first. That way, if our opponent does not have anything, we get as much damage as possible out as quickly as possible. That is 1 more power than the Gear Shift Ace. And there is a Prakata Pillar Bug. Interesting card. I can just Harness Lightning that immediately. Now I can actually just play a Gear Shift Ace and Harness Lightning that. Or I could play a Gear Shift Ace, then I can Sky Skiff. That seems fine, but I think Harness Lightning here seems great. Green-black deck, as we saw with some of those green uncommons that were going around the packs late, green-black deck can have some really sturdy creatures. So we want to just try to put as much pressure on in the early game as possible before they can potentially play like a 5/5 blocker, like that 5/4 trample that gains a bunch of life, anything like that. There's a Thriving Rhino. Whenever it attacks, they can spend 2 to put a +1/+1 counter on it, but for now it's just a 2/3. And they're at 9, so if I attack with everybody, they trade with the 4/2, take 6, they go to 3 life total, and then I just attack with I just play a 4/4 as well. I think I'm handedly winning this game. I think it's going to be very hard to lose, but we'll see. Green-black decks can have some scary cards. They're down to 3, and here is our 4/4. Sky Skiff might have been a little bit better, because green-black, they probably don't have a ton of flyers, so then they would need a way to block a flyer alongside everything else. But I'm pretty sure they're just dead, no matter what here. Yep, there's the concession. What an absolute bonkers start. That was just all thanks to that first pick, DePaula, alongside the 2 Veteran Motorists we got. We actually got one of those very late in the draft as well. Oh, that was spicy. All right. 1,800 gems and 5 packs is the reward now. Let's head into potentially the final boss. 6 wins and 1 loss now. I can lose this game and still play another one, but hopefully I win it. We just get 7 wins and 1 loss immediately for our first Kaladesh Remastered draft. That would be a spicy way to start. That would be wonderful. So let's see how things go. Here we are against Ugin, which is pretty scary. I'm going to keep this 7 because Veteran Motors gets us to Scry 2. We do have the 4 mana that we need already for Propeller Pioneer and Bomat Bazaar Barge. So Veteran Motorist coming out as a 2 mana 3/1 and scrying away any more lands that we draw makes me feel like while this hand doesn't look super spicy at first, the potential of what we draw is very likely to be good thanks to that scry. And Revoke Privileges is just immediately a great draw. And we're doing it! We're doing it again! Veteran Motorist turn 2 into DePaula turn 3. Unfortunately for us, our opponent does actually play a 2-mana 2/2. So we cannot attack with a Veteran Motorist turn 3 here unless we want to trade in to that Eager Construct. Our opponent is on white-blue, so potentially they do potentially have a lot of late-game value cards like Cloud Blazer and stuff, so maybe I just Revoke Privileges and just get in, just jam in. Probably not. I think I played DePaula, and we'll go for the long game here. We're not going to attack this turn, but if they don't play another creature, I do get to attack with DePaula at least, since she has 3 toughness against that 2 power. Our opponent does start with a Prophetic Prism here, so potentially didn't have a land until they played that Pacification Array as well. Alright, we need to put the pressure on, and Hungry Flames lets us do that. That lets us get rid of the Eager Construct while doing damage to our opponent as well, and we'll have 1 mana up to see if the top card is something we can draw here. That would be pretty spicy. We may as well do it, because we have another removal spell anyway. It's not the end of the world if the top card is not one. So that was a really nice draw. We did have an Aether Inspector on top, so we got to draw a card off of paying only 1 mana for DePaula's ability. And our opponent goes with the Propeller Pioneer, almost definitely splitting up. Yep, a 2/1 and a 1/1. Now, I can revoke Propeller Pioneer's privileges, and then they can't kill anything here. But then I only have 2 mana left, so I'm not really playing anything this turn. I would just be attacking with everybody, potentially doing 7 damage to them. I don't know if that's worth it. I guess I do get to look at the top 2 if I do that as well. I think I actually do want to revoke privileges, because the other thing is then any flyers that I have in the future can definitely get in there. So Propeller Pioneer could potentially get in there, and if I draw Sky Skiff off of DePaula, that could get in there as well. We did not draw Sky Skiff, but we drew Gear Shift Ace. DePaula is just giving us straight gas here. They do chump block with the servo, so they only take 3, go to 8. I'm feeling pretty good about this game overall. Of course, our opponent can always take it back, especially with a Pacification Array whenever they have extra mana to help slow us down. But the main thing I was worried about is this kind of... ooh, that was pretty rough. So Baral's Expertise returning everything to our hands, which does destroy my Revoke Privileges, and it lets them recast Propeller Pioneer as well, so that was very good for them. Anyways, the main thing I was worried about is like a white-blue deck really taking over the game in terms of the amount of value throughout the course of the game, them just drawing a bunch of stuff. But actually, DePaula has really put those fears to side for me by letting me draw extra cards as well. So I think both of us will be having some card advantage. Our opponent did draw a card off Prism and scryed one. I guess that's it. They haven't drawn any extra cards. But if they play like a Cloud Blazer or something, that will be sad. Alright, so Malfunction is going to shut off Veteran Motorist, and they are going to attack with Propeller Pioneer. Interesting. I guess they do have the mana to Pacification Array on DePaula. I think I'll pay the 1 here when she becomes tapped. That is why I put Aether Inspector on top there, because then I could just know, like, yeah, Aether Inspector's on top, so I just pay 1 and draw a card. Super spicy. But now the question is, what do I want to play with my 4 mana, since I'm not playing Self-Assembler this turn? Do I want to just Bomat Bazaar Barge? Or do I want to play Propeller Pioneer so I can block their flyer if they don't tap it down? I think if I play Propeller Pioneer, at least like they're not attacking me anymore, that's pretty nice. I don't know, I'll just go with Aether Inspector. It's a 3/4 that spits out servos when it attacks, which is really good when the board is a 2/1 and a 1/1 on my opponent's side. And with Pacification Array, we definitely want to spread out our threats to as many as possible, and I'm not at the point where I'm super worried about taking 2 damage a turn. Inventor's Goggles is the play from our opponent, though, giving their Propeller Pioneer +1/+2, turning it into a 3/3. So it does attack for 3 now, so a little more concerning, but my opponent now has no cards in hand and I have 7, so I think Dapala won this game for us. I think it's over. Obviously no confirmation, but I think we're good. Alright, so I'm going to go to combat. They probably tap Aether Inspector here. Because, like, Dapala would just trade with Propeller Pioneer. Am I at the point where I do just attack there, trade off with Propeller Pioneer, then they just have a servo out? Nah, let's get greedy. We're going to get greedy. I don't think I have to actually do that here. Because I can play Toolcraft Assembler and a Self-Assembler, and then I'm just attacking with Self-Assembler and Toolcraft. Because that will be... This will be a 4-3, that'll be a 4-4. And it could be a 4-3 first strike if I play 2 more artifacts. Aviary Mechanic is a good draw for our opponent. They can return Propeller Pioneer to their hand and replay it, get another servo token. Or they can return Prophetic Prism, use it to draw another card, try to get out of this mess. That works as well. But yeah, I feel like Dapala, the reason I really don't want to trade with Dapala here is not so much that I'm still trying to draw cards off of her, and kind of at this point it's because of the extra power and toughness that she's giving all of my cards. Gearseeker Serpent is a scary card from our opponent that can attack basically with unblockability. It's also a 5/6, so it blocks super well as well. Opponent does choose to attack with the 2/1 flyer. Potentially? They have not actually gone through with it yet. I don't see why they wouldn't. They are calculating their blocks now. Yeah, I think Gearseeker Serpent just makes blocks so safe for them now. Let's see, 7 mana. 7 mana. So I can Gear Shift Ace and Self-Assembler. Don't have 3 artifacts out if I do that, so Toolcraft doesn't get first strike or anything. If I attack with everybody, Gearseeker Serpent blocks my 4/4. Aviary Mechanic blocks my 3/3. If they block 3/4, they take, or they block this and they take 3. 7 mana. I can play Self-Assembler and Gear Shift Ace, or I can play Propeller Pioneer and Gear Shift Ace, just spread out to as many creatures as possible. Could also play a Bazaar Barge and a Gear Shift Ace. Bazaar Barge would crew as a really big creature. Yeah, let's play a Bazaar Barge, see what we draw. Bazaar Barge would also crew with first strike thanks to Gear Shift Ace. So if they don't give Gearseeker Serpent unblockable, now they can't really attack me with it. Not that they were going to anyways. I mean, that's definitely blocking right now. I think the plan's going to be Bazaar Barge, but they can just keep Pacification arraying it, which is unfortunate. I don't like how this game feels like it's stabilizing a little bit. That Baral's Expertise really slowed me down. And they have drawn into a very large blocker now with the Gearseeker Serpent. Oh no. Oh shit. Alright, well, these Azorius Nonsense cards might come back for our opponent. Because now that it's a 3/2 flyer, when it comes to play, they tap creature and opponent controls, and it doesn't untap in my next untap step. So now I'm even farther from attacking next turn. Yeah, now I'm still taking 2 in the sky. Having the Baral's Expertise specifically to destroy the Revoke Privileges as well was really, really rough. Because it wouldn't feel so bad that I already used Revoke Privileges if it like stayed on the board and I stopped getting hit by this stupid flyer. Like... It feels extra bad now because not only did it not stay on the board, I also can't use it on Gearseeker Serpent and crack in. Oh, we drew a dwarf there. I should have tried to look at the top there, but I was hoping to maybe draw into removal. So I didn't really want to put more removal on the bottom. I guess how much removal do I have? I had 2 Harness Lightning in the deck at this point. Alright, they've got Pacification Array mana. Oh, this is just a super big mess. It's just a muddy board in general. We've got 8 mana. We can Self-Assembler an Audacious Infiltrator, I guess. I could also Aether Inspector and Propeller Piner, so I suppose let's do that. I am going to spit out a Servo, because the Propeller Pioneer can trade with either of their flyers, even without the counter. And that's just what's going to happen, like it's not going to get through. Try to crew the Bizarre Barge, but they will just tap it down. Still worth it. Gets them to use their tap down thing right now. Okay, so they tap it down now. They have 4 blockers. They can block and kill Toolcraft Exemplar, block and kill Depala, block and lose a creature, block and lose a creature. I don't attack here. Yeah, because this is even summoning 6. I only have 3 creatures that can actually attack, and they can just block really well on those. So yeah, we have enough energy now that Harness Lightning at this point would kill Gear Seeker Serpent as well, so that would be a huge draw. Opponent apparently drew something that's not a land. That sucks. That sucks hardcore. I don't want any more action coming from them right now. I'm so close to the 7-win run. And they're starting to stabilize a little. It's definitely iffy. They do only have 5 blockers. They've got 5 blockers and Pacification Array. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attackers. So 2 of these things are going to get in no matter what, which means I'll get in for at least 3 damage if I just literally just click all attack. I get in for 3 and then... Oh! Okay. Harness Lightning is straight gas. They could have a counter spell, but if I wait, they'll still just have it. They've got 1,000,000 mana. Let's try it. Let's try it. That is so huge. 1 random energy isn't going to help me at all, so I'm just going to pay all 7, just in case they have +1/+1 somehow. Okay, so we have a Self-Assembler to play after all this nonsense. Okay, so I crew with 3 power, so I can crew with... I think I'd actually rather crew with Depala and just pay 1 now, because now I'm not trying to draw Harness Lightning anymore, and I really don't want to lose Depala, because then I lose a ton of the power that's on my board. I'm going to pay 1. It is a mountain, and we threw it on the bottom, so that's value there. Scry Mountain at the bottom. Go to combat. They're going to tap down Bizarre Barge. Harness Lightning was so good there. Okay, so they tap Bizarre Barge. Now I go to combat. All attack means they can chump there, chump there, chump, chump. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my god, yeah. That's an easy all attack. You just all attack and slam down a 4/4. We'll have to see what's in their hand, but I can't see this. I cannot see this going that poorly for me. I mean, they could have like an impeccable timing or something. This could go mildly poorly. But, yeah. I suppose if they want to take like 7 instead of 6, they can just kill a Gear Shift Ace and do like trades instead. I don't think they can block those 2 creatures though and not die. Let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Unless this is instant speed, destroy like any creature. Oh wait, no, impeccable timing would do it. Impeccable timing, they'd go to 2 life, and they can make these blocks. Because they can kill Toolcraft Exemplar there. They did. It is an impeccable timing. Okay. Well, I mean, they go to 2. I am losing some creatures, but I think I still have enough to... Yeah, I still have enough to handedly win. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this doesn't count because I had to crew it with the Pala. So I've got 4 against their 3. So they have to draw... I have 5 against their 3. They have to draw something really good. Because, yeah, any one of these is gonna be lethal. And there is the concession. Overthinking and everything. That is a 2-hour-long Kaladesh Remastered draft video for you all. 7 wins and only 1 loss. What a heck of a way to jump into the format. Well, I would like to thank every one of you for watching. I will go ahead and open the packs that I got as prizes, as I always do at the end of these videos. If you want to see more Magic Arena content, stick around right where you're at, and I will be back tomorrow with another Kaladesh Remastered draft for sure. If you want to catch me live and hang out with me, just check out my Twitch channel, and I'll be playing PlayStation 5 there, because I am getting one today at some point. It will arrive, so I'll have links in the description for all of that. And apparently I forgot that I did the pre-order thing, so I actually have 10 packs to open before I open the 6 from this draft. So really nice. These fast lands are going to be absolute historic staples. Definitely great cards to have in your collection, so really nice to get Inspiring Vantage, Inspire Bluff Canal. Really cool to get Padim as well. I'm kind of thinking about, they're going to do a couple Historic Brawl events in the future here, so I'm definitely thinking about doing some Historic Brawl gameplay for those for sure, and maybe doing some decks with the brand new Kaladesh Remastered Legends, of course. So really nice to have one of those as well. And Cultivator's Caravan, just a fine card for Historic Brawl as well. And Scrap Heap Scrounger is kind of the card of the day, card of the video. I believe, what, 5? At least 5 of our opponents, I think, had Scrap Heap Scrounger. Maybe only 4. I could be really blowing that out of proportion, but I feel like there were Scrap Heap Scroungers everywhere. Gonti, cool card there. Gonti is already on Arena, though, thanks to Jumpstart, so not the most exciting pull. Ooh, Master Trinketer is a nice one. I don't think that's in Jumpstart, but it could be. That is another one of the nice dwarf cards in the set, so another good card for like a Depala Brawl deck. There we go. Ooh, Inventor's Fair. This is going to be a nice one as well for constructed formats. This is a card that I used to use in Standard when, back in the beta, before Arena was completely out, there was an artifact combo deck that would use Paradoxical Outcome and Psi Master Thopterist or something. I don't remember the exact name, but this was one of the key lands because you could use this as a tutor to grab whatever artifact you need, which is really cool. Another really cool artifact card, very nice to open that up. Metallic Mimic, another great artifact card. This set is just very cool. This is a great card for your historic tribal decks or your historic brawl tribal decks, because it's just a tribal lord in any tribe whatsoever, which is really nice to have on Arena. It's actually really good timing for it too, since Jumpstart is on Arena. Jumpstart did give support to a lot of tribes that are not super popular or don't have a ton of lords, like minotaurs, dogs, cats, things like that. So having a card like Metallic Mimic is really cool to see. 2 packs to go. Baral, Chief of Compliance, was literally banned in Baral when it was first out because it would just lead to really good mono blue control decks with a ton of counter spells, repeatedly just drawing and discarding, making sure they always had gas every time they cast something, and it made all of them cheaper. So Baral, I expect to see him a ton in Historic Brawl. He's going to be very popular for your controlling decks in mono blue. And last but not least, Green Belt Rampager. It's a fun little interesting card. I've never seen it do anything that crazy, but in limited it's fine. Because on turn 1 you can play a forest, you play it, return it to your hand to get an energy. Next turn, you play another forest, and then you play it twice, and then it'll come out as a 3/4. Because every time you play it, you get 1 energy, and then you have to put it back into your hand unless you pay 2. So that was a really long way of describing that card. That was way more lines than it has in the rules text. So we'll open this random Zendikar Rising pack as well, but as I said before, I would like to thank you all so much for watching. Stick around for more Magic Arena content right where you are. I'll be back tomorrow with another Kaladesh Remastered draft, and if you want to check me out live, hang out in the chat as I play some PlayStation 5 games, just check out my Twitch channel in the description. So, with all that out of the way, I will see you again tomorrow.